Hello guys, Tops here. Today I want to make a perk tier list for Battle Brothers. So let's start. And our first perk is Dodge. And let's go to Dodge. Dodge gives you plus 15% of the current character's initiative as bonus to melee and range defense. That's pretty strong in my opinion. And it's very good for Nimble characters, basically auto-include for Nimble characters. And even on Battleforge, it's great. So it could be even one tier higher, because it gives you extremely high value melee and range defense. Okay, let's go to the next one, Battleforge. Battleforge is pretty simple. It is like Nimble. Where do we have Nimble? We will get there later. So Battleforge is basically, it reduces the damage that your armor takes. And it's like Nimble. I would say Battleforge is very good, but you need the perfect bro, a decent bro for that. So you need a bro that has fairly high melee defense, so it doesn't get hit constantly, so your armor actually can tank. If you have a bro who has low melee defense and you take Battleforge, his armor gets destroyed very fast and he's gonna die. But with Nimble, you can put Nimble on basically everybody and he gets significantly tankier. Because with Nimble, you only take less HP damage. And in order to get less HP damage, you need to take light armor with you. And Nimble, it's actually one of the best perks in the game, because it makes every brother very tanky, basically. And it's very easy to get. The Nimble builds are way more simpler to get than the Battleforge builds, and it's good on every brother. And you can get it very early. And you can see my videos I made about Nimble and Battleforge. Okay, next one. Resilient. Yeah. Resilient, not sure if it's trash or waste of a point. The problem with Resilient is Battle Brothers is a hard game and Resilient doesn't do that much. Okay, it reduces negative status effects by 1 turn. Problem is, a lot of negative status effects are not problematic in the game, and in general it's better to take other defensive perks than Resilient. So yeah, I'm not high on Resilient. Okay, let's go to the next one. Shield Mastery. Find perks that have their place, in my opinion. Shield Mastery is an auto-include on a shield tank. So basically every tank. And you don't take it on anybody else, in my opinion, because it basically makes Shield War more efficient. You can spam it more and you get more defense from shields and whatnot. Auto-include on tanks, wouldn't take it on anybody else. So good on specific builds, but not really good in general on every bro. Okay. Next perk, pretty simple, Colossus. For me personally, auto-include on every bro. I don't even think about it. It increases hit points by 25%, which is just insane, which reduces your chance to get hit significantly. To get injured, not to get hit, but to get injured and die, basically. Auto-include on every bro. Mathematically good on every pro, I'm sure. Next one, 9 lives. Is generally poor. Let's go to 9 lives. Nine Lives is here, right? So it basically gives you a second chance if you get hit and you would have died, which is good. And you get for 1 turn increased stats, which is also good. Problem is it works if you are already in danger and high chance yet you will die anyways. So you want to try to play to win, not to lose, in my opinion. So again, it's a hard game. Perks are very competitive, so I wouldn't rate that too high. But it has a place for runners and trash bros in combination with the surgeon or the cook. So you get basically more mileage out of your weak bros, your throwaway bros that die anyways. So they might as well survive another turn, basically. Sometimes. But it's, in general, it's bad on most bros. It's good on trash bros. Let's say it this way. Okay. Fortified Mind. Auto-include on your banner, of course, because it increases resolve by 25% or 20%. What was it? Let's look. 25%, right. So you want to have this on your banner and probably on your tanks in combination with Lone Wolf. So it's a fine perk like Shield Mastery. You want to have it on specific builds, and it's very good on specific build, but most bros don't want these perks, right? Steel Brow, next one. I would say it's generally good on most bros because what it does, if you get headshot, which is 25% of the time you get hit in the head, there's is basically a critical hit and it does extra damage to your to your bro. And Steel Brow basically negates that. So even if you get headshotted, you don't get crit. So you basically get always shot in the body. And yeah, this is, somebody did the math, and over the course of a battle, it has similar effects to Colossus, which is roughly 20 to 25% increase in hit points, which is very good. And it's more or less an go-to perk with Battleforge. So I like this perk and I take it a lot. It reduces damage significantly to your bros. Very good defensive perk. I would say good on most bros. Okay. Anticipation. Oh, that's a bad one. That's a bad one. Where is it? Right. You gain range defense the more your opponent is away from you. Okay, this is trash. Because the AI, if they shoot at you, they will always shoot at the weak bros. So if you have anticipation, basically they will not shoot at you. They will shoot at somebody else. And there's still a chance that they miss and still hit you randomly. So it's like range defense in general is the weakest stat in the game, in my opinion, because it's so random that you get shot at, and you, even if you have high range defense and anticipation, there's still a chance that you get hit by something. So I don't like it. I really don't like it. Okay. Next one, rotation. Rotation is, you can basically switch plays with one of your bros, which is good in general. Problem is very high fatigue cost and action point cost. but it can save lives. The problem that I have with this is if you play carefully and you watch your positioning, it's not necessary. It's really not necessary. Yeah, you can still take it on something like a banner to get more defensive stuff, but in general, I wouldn't take it. But this is just my opinion. I think it's fine if you take it on some bros, but it's fine if you don't take it at all. I don't like it that much. Okay. Next one, Headhunter. Okay, Headhunter. Headhunter makes basically, if you hit the head, your next attack will hit the head also, guaranteed. So, I don't like this perk because it's weird. It's weird. It's very unreliable in the first place, and it's only 25% chance that I hit the head, and then my next hit is gonna hit the head too. So sometimes it's like, it's super weird. I can't really explain it, but it's a very unreliable damage perk. Let's say it this way. I generally find it not that great, but some builds can utilize it. There are some weapons that have a higher hit chance on the head or some background, so you can really lean into that, especially with famed gear that increase headshots probability from certain weapons. Or there's kind of a fun meme build with a flail and flail mastery, and then you go for Headhunter. But in general, I don't like this perk, and I wouldn't rate it that highly. Okay, next one. Executioner. You do 20% damage, bonus damage to injured enemies. It's a generally poor damage perk, same like Headhunter, because it's very unreliable. It is, you have to wound an enemy to get the bonus damage, and some enemies can't be wounded. Some enemies have so less HP that they just die, so it doesn't matter if they are wounded or not. So that's weird. It's kind of a corner case build, and some builds can make it work. In general, it's more a meme and not very strong because it's same like Headhunter, pretty unreliable. But that's my take on that. You can do it, you can meme, but again, it's a difficult game, and there is other perks that you really want to take, and this is not one of them. But you can take it if you want to. Okay. Bullseye. Same with... It's generally poor. It increases your hit chance if you hit targets that are behind cover from 75 to 50%. And it's okay if you lean into a bow and you have a famed bow with additional hit chance, so you go for a necromancer or hexen sniper build, but on every other build I wouldn't take it. It's in general only for range builds, and you shouldn't shoot at something that is covered by something. But again, if you want to play the sniper bowman, it's fine for the sniper bowman. But in general, for most bros, just a poor trade. Wouldn't take it. Reach advantage, next one. Reach advantage is basically, it's fine for some builds, especially AoE builds, because every time you attack an opponent with a two-handed melee weapon, you get +5 melee defense. And that's very good on AoE two-hander builds. So basically a sword guy or a hammer guy can be good on the two-handed cleaver as well. So you get at least, on average, 10 melee defense per round, which is a significant increase in your defensive stats. So you can be very survivable with an AoE frontline two-handed build. Good trade for two-handed frontliners. Everybody else doesn't care about this perk. So moving on to backs and belts. Find perk that has their place. Good on utility characters or ranged characters, especially throwers, that want to have more inventory space. Very good on throwers. But it basically increases your inventory space from your backpack space from 2 to 4 and reduces the fatigue. But it's not good for most builds. It's very situational good for ranged guys in general, or for utility guys, like your banner, who maybe wants to have a lot of backpack stuff, in my opinion. Okay, next one, student. You gain more experience at cost of 1 point, basically. That's what student does. And student is the only perk that is basically free. So it's technically optimal on every brother. If you can take it, you should take it. Because you will invest this perk point, but at level 11, you get the perk point back. So it's basically a free perk. And just lets you level faster. It's hard to get it in the beginning, where you have a company who is still evolving and you need fighting power. But you can take student later on in the game on most of your strong recruited bros that you want to level fast, basically. Okay, 1 second. I need to drink my coffee. Okay, so next perk. Yeah, not footwork. How is it called? We're gonna look it up. Pathfinder, right? Pathfinder. It basically reduces action point cost and fatigue cost for moving over terrain. So you can basically always move 4 tiles. And you have no increased fatigue cost for moving over difficult terrain. And this is good on every bro because it lets your moves faster and you don't need fatigue. Less fatigue for moving over heights or in the swamp, in the desert, in the snow, against the kraken, in the swamp. So it's a very good perk in most battles, in the forest as well, and it's good on every bro. It's not mandatory, but you can take it on every bro, no matter the build, and it's gonna be fine. Or you don't take it at all and it wouldn't matter. But I think this is one of a free choice that you have. I really enjoy this perk and I don't play a brother without footwork. A Pathfinder, I'm sorry. Footwork is the next one. And I think footwork is, it's trash. I would say it's trash. Okay, what footwork does, it basically lets you move out of zone of control without triggering attacks, the free attacks from opponents. Problem is it costs action points and a lot of fatigue, so hard to use. You would kind of play this on ranged guys, maybe, but not really. And you can fix footwork by positioning. And again, your ranged guys should be able to hold themselves in melee for a while. Especially most of my ranged guys are dualists, so they are still melee capable, most of them. So you can take it on an archer if he gets run at, but it's like swapping around bros. It's a playstyle, but I really don't like it, and you can fix that by being better at the game. But for a newer player, it's maybe good. Maybe good. Okay, next one, Relentless. Relentless is a perk that basically reduces initiative penalty from waiting and fatigue by 50%. Right, so it reduces your initiative penalty, so you always have higher initiative, which is mandatory for the Fencer build, which is, in my opinion, a meme build. But it's necessary for high initiative builds that always want to maintain high initiative because they heavily rely on dodge. But in general, on most bros, it's just trash and you won't take it. It's a very niche build on very few bros. Generally bad. But you can take it. Fearsome. Fearsome is basically you trigger more morale checks. Very simple explained. And it's just the tip of the iceberg. It's hard to explain. It's a very complicated topic. But basically Fearsome lets you trigger more morale checks more often, which basically leads to the point that your opponents are fleeing and you win every battle basically 3 to 4 turns earlier than without Fearsome. Important. If you go Fearsome, you need to do it on your whole company to see the effect. So the more guys have Fearsome, the more effect it has. If you just have 4 or 5 guys with Fearsome, it will not have that much of an effect. But if your whole company has it, it's insane. It's the easiest way to play and win the game. Basically, every fight you win with this, except for undead fights, but it's incredibly strong. Right. I would take it on my whole company, or I wouldn't take it at all. You have to decide. Okay, next one is Indom. Indom makes you almost damage immune. It reduces incoming damage by 50%. Immunity to being stunned and knocked back and stuff. Very good. Auto include on tanks, and you wouldn't take it on anybody else. So it's like shield expert. You take it on tanks, not on anybody else, right? Good perk, very good perk on tanks, by the way. Okay, next one. This one, fast adaptation, which gives you plus 10 hit shots for every missed attack. This one is generally poor on good bros. Wouldn't take it. It's trash on good bros. But on bad early game bros, it's good. Actually good on bad bros that will not survive till late game. Because they get additional hit chance very early. So it's very good on stuff like runners or just weak fodder bros that probably don't even get to level 5. Right? So good on bad bros, bad on good bros. That's what I would say. Berserk. generally extremely good. Berserk gives you, upon killing an enemy, 4 action points. So this basically means you can attack twice with a big two-handed weapon and 3 times with a one-handed weapon. So it technically can double your damage, which is just insane. Best damage perk in the game. Biggest problem, you need not a lot of fatigue to utilize it, and it's only good for damage builds, in my opinion. So yeah, it's not for every bro, but for every damage bro, you absolutely need that. Killing Frenzy, same as Berserk. These two go very well together. If you kill an opponent, you get 25% damage for 2 turns. So Killing Frenzy is the only perk that fairly reliable, increases your damage in the whole game. So for your best damage builds, they're gonna have Killing Frenzy. And it's very good on your damage builds in conjunction with Berserk. So your Berserk kills somebody and then you get the bonus damage and you just go Berserk and kill everybody. Okay. Next one. Adrenaline. Let's look this up. Adrenaline. Costs 1 action point and 20 fatigue, and it lets you hit first in the next battle round. This is very powerful, but it has a high opportunity cost because it costs a lot of fatigue and action points. And I think it is a play style. It's very much a play style where you give your team a lot of adrenaline and then your fights become very, very fast, very explosive. You just basically alpha charge your opponent and kill them before they can kill you. It can work, but it's a specific build and you have to decide before if you want to use it. It's generally not good on every bro, but it can be good if you really build a adrenaline alpha charge company, so to speak. So that's, I would say, it's a fine perk, but definitely not in auto include. Okay, Taunt. Trash. I don't like it. Taunt, basically you use that on an enemy and that enemy should attack you. But a lot of the time, that enemy doesn't attack you. So it's nice in theory, but I find in practice, even on tanks, it's not that great. And I really don't like it. I think it's one of these perks that is just more or less wasted, sadly. But this perk could get a buff, I hope, at some point. But there are so many opponents that just ignore your taunt and attack the next enemy. So I don't like it. I really don't like it. But it could be on tanks maybe, but I don't like it. Again, it's a playstyle that I don't like. Okay. Quick hands. Fine perk on some builds, and I think it's a little bit like Adrenaline, where it is a playstyle. Quick hands basically lets you switch to your backpack weapon without using fatigue or action points. So you get 1 free weapon swap every turn. That's good if you have weapons in your backpack that you want to use. So it's very good on specific builds. It's fairly good on range builds. Or on fatigue neutral two-hander builds, which are definitely not my favorite builds. So I think it increases the utility of your company dramatically if you want that. Again, it's a playstyle that I don't like, but you can do it. You can do it if you lean into a very flexible company, and if you build it like that and you don't want to play Fearsome or Adrenaline, you can go for quick hands and make a flexible company. Right. Browny. Yeah, Browny. What do we do with Browny? I would say it's generally poor. It reduces the fatigue reduction from your armor by 30%, which is, it's alright on people that have not enough fatigue and you want to give them more fatigue. Problem is it gets worse with good famed armor, and it's a perk that you don't want to take. Again, high opportunity cost. It's a very hard game, and it's good on guys that need a lot of fatigue and don't have a lot of fatigue. Generally good on Battleforge, wouldn't take it on Nimble at all. So a specific build for Battleforge bros that don't have a lot of fatigue, in my opinion. So I would say it's specifically good on some bros, on everybody else, not good. Dualist. It's a build-defining perk. Dualist basically lets you do more armored damage with one-handed weapons when you have your offhand free. That's crazy good on Dualist people that you build. It's a late perk, but it's incredibly strong. 25% damage ignore for armor. That's crazy. So you can basically one-shot certain enemies with somebody like a mace duelist. It's necessary for one of the highest damage builds in the game, which is the duelist. So very good on duelist, bad on everybody else. But it's build defining and one of the very strong perks in the game. Okay, so Rally the Troops is, I would say, generally poor, but it's an auto-include on your banner, which is, I mean, you know what it does. You blow the horn and your troops get rallied. They stop fleeing. So you basically take this on your banner every run and on nobody else. Yeah, okay. Let's keep weapon mastery for later. Huh? Or maybe we just do weapon mastery. So, mace mastery. Where is mace? There we have it. Okay, so every weapon mastery gives you 25% less fatigue for the weapon skills, which this alone could be worth it for you, right? This alone could be worth taking. Okay, let's go to the mace mastery. Right, it basically increases your stun probability for your mace. I would say it's a fine perk, because if you play a mace guy, a mace stunner guy, you want to have that. If you play a mace duelist, you want to have that. And if you play a big pole mace or two-handed mace, you want to have that too. So it's a fine perk for mace boys. I like it. X mastery. It's generally poor because it just increases split shield and round swing, which are two spells that you probably won't use. So it's a wasted perk, but it's necessary for a Battleforge neutral X guy. So, but in general, it's a poor perk. Spear mastery, next one. Trash, because spears are trash, but it's fine if you play a spear wall guy in the early game, a spear wall tank guy, maybe. But spears are just bad weapons from the mid game onwards, so I wouldn't take spear mastery. But again, spear mastery tanks can be a thing early mid-game, I would say. But in general, it's a bad perk. Okay, Sword Mastery. Bad perk as well, because it just... Yeah. Okay, again, it's very niche for 2 builds, like the big two-handed sword, who does AoE, which gains plus 10%, and kind of the gash one-handed injury build, but one is a meme perk, one is a real meme build, one is a real build, so I would say, it's very, very, very situational. Maybe let's put it like here, but in general, outside of these guys, these 2 meme builds, I wouldn't take swords in general. But yeah, swords have their niche application where they are good, so sword mastery could be good in these cases. Okay. Next one, flail mastery. Flails are in general a meme, in my opinion. So the skill is okay. It gains bonus hit chance to the head and bonus armor pen. But the flail itself is such a weak weapon that I don't build flail, guys. I think if you build flail, dualist or two-handed flail builds, the headshot build, it's a meme build. It's a fun build, but generally pretty bad. Okay, let's go to the crossbow. Crossbow mastery gives you more armor pen, and it makes handguns now require 6 action points to reload. So you can fire and reload every turn. So it's good for crossbow and gunners. So it's good for a crossbow and gunner build, but it's of course not good for everybody else. So this is one of the better weapon skills because it defines, in my opinion, the gunner build. It's an auto include and it's very good on dedicated crossbows as well. Okay, bow mastery, same with the crossbow. It just, if you build a dedicated bow, basically increases your shooting range by 1, which is, if you go for sniping and you want to snipe Hexen or anybody else, if you make a good bow guy, I would take this. It's also, you need the fatigue reduction because you shoot twice or 3 times. So again, for range characters, pretty good. Same with throwing mastery, because it increases damage straight up, and this one is like crazy. Like the damage is so high if you get throwing mastery. So I would say all the 3 ranged builds want to have the mastery, in my opinion. They are good overall for range guys. Okay, the dagger mastery is nice as well because it actually makes the action point go down by 1, so you can attack 3 or even 4 times with your dagger, which pairs extremely well with Overwhelm, which we're gonna get to later. So I would see there's very high on dagger dualist guys or even dagger tanks. It's very good on dagger guys. Cleaver mastery. Cleaver mastery increases the bleeding damage and the disarm penalty from the whip gets better. I don't like the whips, they got nerfed quite a lot, but the cleaver is one of my favorite damage builds and one of the highest damage builds because you increase the bleeding stack. So cleaver mastery is an auto include for cleaver guys and it's bad for everybody else. So, but it's really good for cleaver guys. Hammer mastery. I would say it's generally poor. because hammers are generally poor. And you can see it's like a little bit more armor destruction, a little bit more hit chance, pole hammer, but right. So if you build a dedicated hammer guy, you probably want this perk, but you can play a hammer guy without the hammer perk. So it's not necessary, but it can be okay if you want a hammer guy. Okay, next one, recover. You basically spent 9 action points and your accumulated fatigue gets reduced by 50%, which is good. Okay, this one is build defining. Every high damage build needs this perk because you're gonna fatigue out in basically 2 turns and you need to recover. So it's a mandatory perk for most damage builds, especially with Berserk recover. You can trigger then after a kill recover. A Berserk killing frenzy recover. Very good combo right here for Dualists and Cleaver guys. So good. Next one, Gifted. Gifted gives you basically, you get an additional roll for your stats. That's what you put your point for your perk. And mathematically, it's like Colossus, just incredibly good on every bro, because it increases all your stats and all your hard to come by stats. And it's even good on very good bros, because the returning value of stacking melee defense is just insane. You can do the math on this, and I would say you could look at the Steam guide for Battle Brothers, but this is like incredibly good on every brother. Take it on almost every brother. Stats are just the best way to win the game, in my opinion. Okay, Crippling Strikes. Bad. Crippling Strikes reduces the thresholds for injuries by 33%. And you can already see some enemies are immune to injuries. And yeah, that's a problem. It's very unreliable, and I know there are some meme builds who lean into this, but except for a meme build, no real build uses Crippling Strikes, and it's so unreliable that same with Executioner, it's like not really worth it. But there are meme builds with Executioner and this one. I wouldn't take it on most pros unless you want to have fun, and making a fun build can be a fun build, right? Polar Mastery. It's a very good mastery because in combination with Footwork, you can walk 2 tiles and attack with a 2-handed weapon. That's very good. Also Polearms. I really like the sword lance, right? Because it reduces action points to 5. There, very good. And you no longer have a penalty to hit adjacent targets. So good for polearm builds. And there are some sword lance builds that I really enjoy and that are really good. So it's a very good perk. If you want to play a polearm guy, I would take this perk every time. Adds a lot of utility. Okay, Backstabber. Backstabber, right. You get plus 10 hit chance for every friendly guy that surrounds a target. So, increases your hit chance, basically. It's same like Crippling Strikes, and it goes well with Crippling Strikes. Not Crippling Strikes, Fast Adaptation, which gives you also a plus hit chance. Again, it's good on bad bros, and it's bad on good bros. So if you have a very bad bro and you want to give him more hit chance, good. If you have a good bro, you never take this. Okay. Underdog. I would say Underdog is good because it basically reduces the surrounding bonus from opponents that surround you. So, the good thing about Underdog is it works when orcs charge you and everybody fails and everything fails and you are now surrounded by opponents and you have to fight your way out. So this is, in my opinion, an auto-include on every frontliner because it's every opponent that surrounds you gets +1 chance, +5 chance to hit you, +5. So this one translates to +5 melee defense against 2 opponents and +10 melee defense against 3 opponents that surrounds you. So that's a lot of melee defense. It's very good on frontliners in my opinion. Very good. Auto-include. On backliners it's not necessary, and on tanks it's absolutely mandatory and build defining. So good perk overall. Lone Wolf. Lone Wolf is basically if you are 3 tiles away from your team, which you don't want to be, you get +15% to your stats. That's a lot, but you don't want to be away from your team. Except the only guys who take this are tanks who want to be away from their team so they can take on a lot of enemies. They bait enemies into attacking them and basically tanking it. So except for 1 or 2 tanks in your lineup, it's not a take, in my opinion. Except for maybe 1 or 2 meme builds. Okay, next one, Overwhelm. Generally poor, but very good on the dagger guy, because you attack 3 times. And what Overwhelm does is basically it reduces for every hit, for every time you attack an opponent, it reduces their hit chance by 10%. Some direwolves and hyenas have this effect, and it's pretty strong. Mercenaries have it as well. It's a strong perk, but it heavily relies on the fact that you are faster than your opponent. So it's in generally good on high initiative builds, which are basically a fencer or a dagger guy. And it's good on the dagger guy and bad on everybody else, I would say. It's more or less a meme perk or a very specific use case perk, in my opinion. Yeah. That's my complete tier list, guys. I know this was a long one. I tried to make it as fast as possible. If you have questions and comments, write it down in the comments. I will probably make specific videos for some perks if you want that, or if you want me to explain or go more in depth into specific topics like Battleforge or I don't know, Fearsome, whatever, right? Write it down in the comments and I'm going to see you there and in the next video. Like, comment and subscribe and have a nice day. Bye-bye.